Hey, welcome in, everybody. Oh, my good gravy. What happened to all my guests?
Oh, there we are.
Yay!
I mean, come on now. What is happening here? It's Monday. It's the start of a week. Maybe we're having the case of the Mondays and we didn't even know it. But yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe. Welcome in, friends. Welcome to another episode of Community Connections. I'm Jess. I'm joined by the wonderful House of Meeple, Joe and Abby. Good evening to you both.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here. It just seems like yesterday or the day before we were just there.
Feels like not that long ago.
It was not that long ago, and not even a galaxy far, far away.
I know.
Yeah, so friends, if you weren't catching the stream on Saturday, we did a special Saturday stream celebrating 600 plus followers here on Twitch. And the wonderful Joe and Abby even brought their spawn with them to come over and hang out and play board games and do this. Y'all, do this to my hair.
I know, it still looks amazing.
I'm excited. Yeah, I've been getting nothing but compliments on it, so I'm
glad.
I am so excited. So thank you, Joe. Thank you, Abby.
You're welcome.
I know Abby didn't have anything to do with the actual dyeing process, but she was here in the peanut gallery.
I was gonna say I was a real good peanut gallery.
Yeah.
She was there for support.
She was there for support. Yes. James says the House of Meeple, they've got the meeples, one is a Joe and one is a potato. That is true.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a fact.
That is true. So welcome into you and welcome into Panda. Thank you so much. And anyone else that's working and lurking or maybe lurking and making some dinner or something to that nature. Yes, friends. So we got some stuff to the table while we were streaming. I learned Cat in the Box, which was fantastic.
Yeah, such a great game.
It was such a great game, even though Not Gus destroyed us.
Oh my goodness.
I have no idea how that happened. Then as I was doing my, in between rinsing out chemical processes, he taught Joe and Abby how to play Strike, which was y'all's first time learning it. And thoughts on Strike? Very,
very fun.
I really liked it.
Great for a quick filler. Fantastic game.
Awesome. So yeah, they got to learn Strike, and then in turn, we taught them how to play Fleet the Dice game, which is one of my faves. And thoughts on Fleet the Dice game?
It'll be here tomorrow.
I was gonna say,
yay!
We may or may not have ordered it while standing at Guardian because they didn't have. I think there was 2 games in stock we were looking for that they didn't have. So while we're in the middle of Guardian, we were actively ordering games on other websites.
That's wonderful. That's
no
wonderful. Shame. I mean, that means it's just a successful weekend, right?
Exactly.
You have all those things
because they had Fleet, they had the expansion, they had the Fleet the Dice game expansion, but not the actual dice game. So we at least picked up the expansion because I'm like, it's $5. That's an easy pickup, and then. We found Fleet the Dice game online, and then Abby regrets not pre-ordering Beer and Bread through Guardian a week ago because they were out of stock.
Days ago, they had it in stock, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to go because we got rewards points. And I get there, and they're like, oh, yeah, we sold out. And I'm like,
no! You're like,
fine. I'm like, I
shaking your fist at the sky. I know.
Yeah.
I did a little bit and bless the people who were helping me because I was like, okay, thank you. And then I walked around the corner and I grabbed out my phone and I was like, okay, which board game store online had it? Because it was one of them and they emailed me and I was like, there, done, it's mine.
Nice.
So those 2 are on their way, but we did pick up some other things while we were there because. Got to take advantage of that tax-free shopping,
Yes. Even though you're up north, you're only one state away, and surprisingly, y'all don't have. You have sales tax. We don't have sales tax. But y'all have sales tax,
and it's significant too. Up here, it's 10.2%. So you're saving $8 to $10 on a purchase, which is great.
Yeah. So I also know we ate some tasty food.
Yes, we did.
That is always going to be a staple every time y'all come to visit. I was visiting a friend of mine today and her newborn, and we always talk about food. She's Asian American, so her and I always wanted to exchange recipes and stuff, right? So I was telling her, I was like, we went to this Caribbean restaurant on the west side. It's called Borican, and you'll just you'll love it. And she's like, do you recommend it? And I was like, oh yeah, 100%. And like, we trust each other when it comes to like food quality, and like, we're not foodies, but like, it's like, we know what we like, and we know if it's going to be some good comfort food, we'll be in the right. So, so she was definitely intrigued about going to go visit.
Oh, good. It makes me glad that, that's getting around. 'Cause again, being half Puerto Rican myself, that's some of the most authentic food I've had in the States. It's fantastic.
Now, do you think it was actually like family owned? Because it looks family owned to me.
It is 100% family owned. So the owner, I don't know if you noticed her, Jess, but she was the older lady making the drinks behind the bar.
Okay, with the bandana in her hair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is Doña Awi. That is the owner. She's originally from Puerto Rico, family owned. Like it's like family recipes. It's legit.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah, when we walked in the first time, because I told you, I'm like, hey, I found a Puerto Rican restaurant. And he kind of looked at me suspiciously, and I'm like, listen, if we walk in and it doesn't look like your grandma's behind the counter and it's all white people, we're going. And I'm okay with that. And he's like, okay. And we walk in, he goes, these people all look like my mom. We can stay. I was like,
that's awesome.
Okay.
That's awesome.
And I was like, that's fine. I was like, I just didn't want it to walk in and he'd be like, what is this?
What is happening right now?
Yeah. Well, the first time we went, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago. You know, we sit down, we order. You know, I know I can't really speak Spanish well, but I can speak food, which is great. Yeah. So, you know, I'm reading off the menu, ordering food, and they're like, and that's when they ask, is like, are you Puerto Rican? Is like, yeah, I am. And then that's when I knew they were authentic, because they're like, okay, we're good here.
That's awesome.
I think they brought out like 3 extra desserts for us as soon as he said he was Puerto Rican. And I was like, oh, this is a good life I'm living. I like free desserts.
And okay, did that not happen last night too, Abby?
Uh-huh. I don't know how it happened. I really think it was a confusion, but I wasn't mad. And I mean, the kid got like 1.5 puddings, so it worked out for everybody involved.
Win all the way around.
Exactly.
Speaking of wins, y'all, I'm really excited to introduce our next guest. He has been known to be the voice of the Dice Tower podcast, as well as some other wonderful audiobooks that a lot of you have probably read, but not known, like who is the actual face behind this voice. He is a fellow board gamer and friend of the channel, and a lovely friend to someone in our community, the delightful Crystal Dax. So let's bring him on for our cozy chat tonight. It is the one, the only, Mr. Eric Summer. Hey, Eric.
Hello, everybody. Great to be hanging out with you today.
Welcome in. How goes it in the? You're over on the East Coast, are you not?
I am indeed. I'm in Connecticut, not too far from Hartford, the capital, and we've been getting snow and freezing rain today. The kids had an early dismissal, and so it's been a little wacky weather-wise here.
Yeah, but I'm sure they're not going to mind not going to school.
Oh no, they don't mind at all.
I remember being that age. It's like, not go to school? Darn.
Oh, darn.
Shucks.
Yeah. Yes, getting some love in the chat for Eric. So, yes, while we are still here in the introductory stages, Eric, why don't you give everybody a little introduction on who you are with showing us your pronouns, what your job title is, and what exactly you do within the board gaming space.
Sure. My name is Eric Summerer, he, him, and my job title is that I'm an audiobook narrator. By day, I'm sitting in the booth that's off to my left, and basically talking to myself all day. I've done close to 400 audiobooks now. I've been at this since 2015 or so. And so I love my job. Every book is a little bit different, and it's always an adventure. And then by night, I have this lovely part-time job where I've been working with the Dice Tower since 2009.
Wow.
I went through the podcast for I think about 13 years. until the Dice Tower flagship podcast ended last year. And I've since then been doing video reviews for the Dice Tower channel. I'm still doing voice work for the channel, and I'm on a bi-weekly chat show called At the Table with Tom and Eric. That we've been chatting with folks in the board game sphere and learning more about them and their design philosophy and just generally getting to know people better. Sort of like what you're doing here.
Awesome. That is very awesome. And thank you, James. Yes, we've been dealing with the nice little audio gremlins today. For I don't know. We were trying to troubleshoot it today, but I think the gremlins just want to stick around because they love Eric so much. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. But we are handling it because that's what we do on this show. We handle stuff. So thank you for that wonderful introduction, Eric. So our first question is, how did you get into board gaming?
I was always a board gamer, but as far as like hobby stuff, so I played Risk and Monopoly and Clue with the family. But the real entry was in college. The Pokemon trading card game came out, and I grabbed a couple of decks with my roommates and started playing. And then I got married right after college, and my wife and I were looking for Pokemon cards, and that led us to the game store and all of the various things on the shelf. And we realized there was this whole world of designer board games that we didn't know existed. Found Board Game Geek, found a game group, started listening to podcasts, and that's how I became a more public member of the board game community at about that time. Awesome.
That was so nicely like well-rounded. Like, so we've often had times where people are like, well, when I was a kid, my grandma taught me how to play bridge, and then like, there's like all this thing, but that was just kind of like a nice. I have a feeling you probably answered that question before.
It has come up once or twice, yes.
All right, Joe and Abby, what you got?
Abby, I'll give you the first question because why not?
I was so ready to open my mouth, and then you open. I'm like, I swear to God, if he goes when I'm ready, and then you're like, you can go. I'm like, oh yeah, I can go. What is your go-to player color?
Oh, I'm definitely purple. If given the opportunity, I will take purple. But it's a popular color. We were actually having this discussion on the Dice Tower cruise, and it is often the one that people go for these days. And so it's not always easy for me to get purple. But if I can't get purple, I'll go with orange, and then I'll start jumping to the more standard colors like blue. And I often end up with yellow because other people don't want yellow at the table. So that's usually the fourth tier. I end up with yellow if there's no purple or orange.
Nice. Joe?
Yeah, I definitely cannot do yellow. It's like, I just can't.
Hey,
I don't know what it is.
Each their own.
Me, yellow and I just don't get along.
Okay.
Okay, co-op or competitive games, what tickles your fancy?
Oh, boy. I mean, I tend to play co-ops more often. My kids were more into that, and they are still in that sort of mode where they say, is this cooperative? And then they'll shy away if the answer is no. And my wife really likes co-ops. So we play a lot more co-ops, I think. But I'll play just about anything. I don't know if I really go for one over the other. It's just that my family enjoys co-ops more often, so I end up leaning that direction.
Okay.
We have a question from chat, Eric. James asks, what is your favorite Weird Al song? That's kind of random, but if y'all know that little fun side note, Eric actually is a Weird Al fan, and you can go ahead and elaborate on that, Eric.
I'm a slight Weird Al fan. I've been listening since I was in school, I think, which is years ago. I mean, it's hard to pick a favorite. I think one of my favorite of his original songs, what I really like are Al's originals, the pastiches, the style parodies, or the ones that just are a funny song that he came up with on his own, is one called Virus Alert. And I just love the structure of that song. It is one of the most complex pieces of music that I've heard from him. And it just seems so surprising at every turn. I find it fascinating. So that one's good.
Yeah, we have a comment from AKH Money that says, the only right answer, Eric, is stuck in the drive-thru.
I like Stuck in the Drive-Thru. It is a long song.
It really is.
It's really long, and I mean, I get it. That's the point, I think. But I feel like I sort of have gotten the point well earlier than the song is over. So still, I mean, they're all great, except for Airline Amy. I don't really like that song.
They say it's a journey.
Yes.
All right, Abby, what you got?
So James also asked, what is one of your favorite oh my goodness, I can read. What is one of your favorite board game voice work that you've gotten to do?
Ooh, I mean, I've gotten to do the app for Dead of Winter, the Crossroads app. I got to do some trailers. I've done a lot of Kickstarter trailers and announcements and stuff. I got to play the Devil for the Deal with the Devil announcement trailer from Czech Games Edition recently. That was fun because I got to be all creepy. Hello, welcome. Please join me. And but the favorite has to be the One Night Werewolf series, especially One Night Ultimate Supervillains, where every one of those characters has a different vocal flair. So I tried to play it so that every time I said a particular character name, I did it in the same way each time. So one of the easiest ones to pick out is Voodoo Lou. Every time I say Voodoo Lou, I say it like that. So that was just a blast to record, working through all of those lines and the iterations. Because, while you see it in game form, in actual play, I just have it as a list of prompts, and I'm working down the line. So I'm just sitting in the booth going, Voodoo Lou, do this, Voodoo Lou. And it's just a whole bunch of that over and over. But it's a lot of fun to do.
Joe?
Okay, so since we know that you do audiobooks, what's the most favorite one you've done? Like, what was the most exciting to do?
I mean, exciting is an interesting word because I've done some books that are well-known authors. I've done some Kurt Vonnegut. I've done some. Well, the biggest one that I ever did, the one that got nominated for an Audie Award, which is like the Oscars for audiobooks, is a sci-fi title called Childhood's End. Arthur C. Clarke. And it was a fantastic book, classic sci-fi, and it was just really cool to get noticed because it was such a high-profile title. It got a lot more notice than some of the other stuff I've done. I don't know if it's necessarily my favorite. I really like the adventure stories, the sci-fi and fantasy stories that are a group of people that have gone on an adventure and they have what I call campfire moments where they sort of sit around. It's not an action scene, but they're trying to figure out what their next move is going to be. And the characters can really come out. So there's a lot of back and forth, characters chatting with each other, their personalities showing up. And those are the scenes I really like playing because I can play all of that back and forth with the characters. One example of that is something called Benjamin Ashwood, which is a fantasy series. It's maybe 6 or 7 books. But it begins with one called Benjamin Ashwood. It's a standard swords and sorcery tale, and they're going on this adventure, and it just has a lot of really memorable people that get stuck in my head.
Okay, I haven't heard of that one. Might check it out.
Gonna have to check it out. Oh my gosh. So I will say this, and Eric, you probably know, but Gus asked, what is your favorite Daniel Radcliffe as Weird Al song? But I think what actually happened is, because he hasn't seen it, and he's referring to Weird, the Al Yankovic story, which is 100% true.
Yes, absolutely.
And
every frame of
every
it is
bit.
true.
Every bit of it is absolutely 100% accurate.
Facts.
But I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, but I believe Al actually recorded songs for that film.
That is true. Al did. Anytime Daniel Radcliffe opens his mouth to sing, it's Al doing the music and the singing. But I do really like he re-recorded a lot of his classic songs for the film, and there's some really cool arrangements. I'm trying to think of. My Bologna is one of the first ones to show up, and it's more of just a cleaner version. There's Another One Rides the Bus. Is that the one?
Yo,
Oh,
Another
man.
Red's Bus is a great one. He did
Yes.
re-record that because that was like one of his first.
Yes.
It is.
And oh my
That's,
gosh, we're getting a raid. But go ahead, continue on. Continue your
Oh,
thoughts,
excellent.
Eric.
I don't know if it's the one that he sings in the club. I don't think it's Another One Rides the Bus. I think that's the one in the pool party scene. He sings.
Oh gosh, that he's singing
Key
in the
Road.
club is
It's
when-
I Love Rocky Road.
I Love Rocky
Yes,
Road, yeah.
Yes.
But the version from the movie starts out with just him on stage singing, and then the band joins in, and that's not the way the original recording goes. And I just like that different arrangement of the song to start out with a solo, and then the band sort of picks up and runs with it.
Yeah. Oh, that's too awesome. Too awesome. So friends, welcome in Raiders. Thank you so much, Game Freak Geek, for sending your community over here. Looks like you were playing some Chef Squad with the chat. How exciting. That is a fun interactive game to play with chat. So friends, my name is Jess. I'm a board game Twitch streamer here. And on Monday evenings, I am joined by the wonderful co-hosts, myself, Joe, and Abby. And we are the CCG Crew, and we like to interview folks in the board gaming space and get to know a little bit insight on who they are and what they do within the board gaming hobby. And tonight we are joined by the wonderful audio narrator, Eric Summerer. You might know him from various audiobooks that you have read or listened to, I should say, and also the voice of the Dice Tower podcast. So welcome in, everybody. And like a Phantom has put into the chat, if you have any questions for Eric, please feel free to pop them in and we will get to them in just a moment. Amanda Panda says the voice of board games. I would say
Certain games.
that is very true. That is very true. If you've ever played One Night Ultimate Werewolf, it is Eric there. And so, yeah, we are just talking about Weird, the Al Yankovic story, because side note, Eric is a big Weird Al fan. I will ask, Eric, how many times have you seen Al live?
Ooh, enough that I've probably lost count.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I've seen. So every time he's gone on tour, I have seen him since the Off the Deep End album.
Okay.
Oh, that's impressive.
Yeah. So every new tour that he set up, I caught whatever show was closest to me. I think I even saw him twice in one of the tour sequences. So that's probably it. It's somewhere between 15 and 20 times, I think, that I've seen Al. And I went bowling with him once.
What? Wait.
Wow.
It was a radio promo. My local
I just went bowling with Al. It's fine.
my local WKFR in Kalamazoo ran a promo event where they were bowling with Weird Al, and there were a ton of people there. Al showed up. He just sort of worked his way down the lanes and took pictures and rolled random balls down the lane. It's not like he played an entire game, but I did get a picture with him and got to say hi very briefly. So yes, I went bowling with Weird Al when I was in high school.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
I love it.
He said, "Nice shirt." I wore a Hawaiian shirt and he complimented my shirt.
Oh, that's so good.
That is awesome. All right, Abby.
So first you're echoing, Jess, and I'm not sure if anybody else hears it.
Okay.
Yeah, Jess, you are echoing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Amanda wanted to know, is there a food you won't eat because it affects your voice?
Ooh. So I don't stay away entirely, but I do cut off on dairy when I'm about to talk. I probably don't cut it off as early as I should because I still like to put cream in my coffee, but I'll have it in the morning that way, and then I will make another cup of coffee for the work day, and I will not put cream in that one. And I should probably avoid it at lunchtime, but I don't as much as I should. So I deal with a little bit of crud post lunchtime when I'm in the booth. But that's the biggest thing. If I'm doing anything particularly strenuous vocally, I try to stay away from any alcohol the night before because that can strain the voice. It's and then I just try and maintain as much warm liquids as I can when I'm actually in the booth. So I'll be having either coffee, which again is not wonderful, or I'll switch to lemon water, warm lemon water with some honey sometimes for the afternoon session.
Got it. All right, Joe, what you got?
Let's see. I think we had a couple more questions in chat. Let's see. Yeah, from another one from James Zia. How long does it take for you to prep a character's voice and record a chapter? And do you get input from the publisher or the author for a character's voice?
Yes. If the author is still with us, if the author is living, they will often fill out a sheet when they hand the book over to the publisher and say, here's the major characters, here's what I'm thinking for them as characters, what I think they should sound like, or maybe an actor reference. They might be like, I think this guy sounds like Matthew McConaughey. That's the style of character I'd like here. And then I have to adapt that into my own version so that I'm not actually doing an impression all the time. But I'll try and get the characteristics of that person that they have in mind and make that my own version of the character. So it's always good to get that sort of reference from the author. I will often, again, if I have access to the author, ask questions, especially about pronunciation of character names and that sort of thing. So I always read through the book first. I've read recently, there are some narrators who don't like to read the book ahead of time. I could not work that way. I need to know where I'm going. I need to know what the full arc of the characters is. I need to know what to expect in conversations. If there are two characters who talk with each other a lot, I need to make sure I don't have their voices too similar because that will be confusing to the listener. I need to sort of map it out. And so I need to know where I'm going in order to do that. So I'm usually working on multiple books at once. I'll be recording one in the booth on a particular week. I'll be prepping the next one, and I'll be doing pickups on one that I did a few weeks ago that has come back, and I'm making corrections for technical issues or mispronunciations and that sort of thing so that it's as perfect as we can get it when it actually releases in audio. As far as time goes, it usually takes me, as far as, I don't know how long it takes to prep. I tend to get the characters in line sort of the night before I'm about to start a new title and figure the mapping out for those characters. Sometimes the morning of, I'll be doing that, working on final character references and stuff like that. As far as recording, I can get about 2.5 hours of final audio in a day. So if you're talking about a 10-hour audiobook, that's going to take me 4 days in the studio to record. Because usually my brain goes before my voice does, and I start making more mistakes later in the afternoon if we're trying to make deadline and I'm trying to push. I will start making more mistakes and getting more frustrated, and that just doesn't produce good product. Occasionally my voice will go too. If I'm starting to get strained, I will call it and say, fine, we're just going to have to work longer tomorrow because my voice is no longer. If I've been traveling, often I will have that issue. If I've been on a plane the night before or at a hotel with, hotel air conditioning systems are all sorts of wacky, and they'll mess with my voice. So if I've been staying outside the house for a while, it often takes me a day or two to get back to full strength. So I'll be doing some earlier afternoon recording sessions for the next day or two.
Okay.
Wow. We have a comment from Board Game Brie that says many voiceover artists do not make that level of effort, and it makes such a difference. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I hope that the work shows through, at least in the final product.
Yeah, and she also asks a question. She says, I noticed recently that Eric played Destinies. I'm obviously a little biased because she works at Lucky Duck. But what did you think, Eric?
So Destinies is a Lucky Duck game. I got to play the library copy on the Dice Tower Cruise. And this is a narrative game where you're presented with a character that has on the backside 2 possible quests. 2 goals that you could perform, and I won't say exactly what I was dealing with because this is sort of the secret information. You know what your 2 destinies are, but the other players don't. And then you're presented with a map and a scenario, and you start exploring. And you're all exploring on the same map. You're finding buildings, you're finding people to talk to, and finding out information. And so I had a particular quest that I needed to collect a certain type of item, and other people were getting clues about that type of item. So I go wandering off and like, oh, really? The Abbey is an interesting place to go to. And I find the ruins of the Abbey, and I start looking around, and the other players are like, why are you spending so much time in the Abbey? I wasn't going to tell them because it's secret. And this is all facilitated from an app. You're scanning cards, you're talking to characters and causing triggers to happen, exploring the map tiles. It just feels like a collaborative storytelling experience. I don't think it's great if you personally want to win, because there is ultimately a winner in a particular scenario. And if you want your destiny, pun intended, to be in your control the whole time, this is not necessarily your game, because you might reveal a clue that is perfect for your table mate, and they're going to be able to sort of get the jump on you because they got that information that you revealed to them. And whereas your clue may not have been revealed yet, you might still need to explore more to get your path revealed to you. And so that does cause one player to sort of get the jump on the others. I didn't mind because it was such an interesting story as it was revealed to everyone. I found it was fascinating. So I only played the first scenario. I would like to play more, and now I have to go hunt it down. This released on Kickstarter, or the Kickstarter version was released a year or two ago, and they're now in the second or third expansion, something like that. So I have to figure out where I want to jump in, how deeply I want to jump in. I probably just want to get the base game, but it's something that's on my radar for sure now. I liked it a lot.
Nice. Very nice. Abby, what you got?
So a combination of two questions from chat. Do you like singing? And if so, what is your go-to karaoke song?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a musical theater geek. I definitely did theater stuff. I haven't had time to do so in a while just because of the time commitment. But I'm now living vicariously through my kids. My son is in the cast of Matilda that opens in a couple of weeks. As far as karaoke goes, I really like it if I'm able, we're going back to Weird Al now, to find the karaoke version of a song that matches so closely to the Weird Al version that I can just sing the Weird Al lyrics. I was able to successfully do this to Eye of the Tiger, and sang the theme to Rocky 13, The Rye or the Kaiser.
Nice.
And managed to do so. So that was a highlight. I think the last time they didn't have Eye of the Tiger, so I sang Secret Agent Man, the theme from the TV show.
That's amazing.
I love it.
Oh, man. Joe?
Let's see. Question from Amanda Panda. Eric, do you feel like any of your kids will become a voice actor and or narrator?
It's possible. I mean, this is one of those, anytime you have someone in the performing arts or a lot of kids want to be streamers now or influencers, and it's hard for me to argue with them because it's exactly what I'm doing. It could be argued that I work for a YouTube organization, and I do performing as my job. I think they would like to explore that, but I also think there are other more traditional jobs on their radar as well. I'm trying not to push them in any direction. But if they do want to head in the performing arts direction, I want to make sure they get the training and the guidance that they need to be successful in that, and not just think of it as a super fun thing to do. I want to make sure they know that it's also a job. Much like anything that looks glamorous, there's a lot of work involved. It's not just sitting in a booth and talking. It's all the prep that goes into that in order to get ready for that. So sure, it could be a possibility, and we're getting into the phase where my eldest is looking at colleges. Oh my goodness, he just turned 15, so we're getting into that zone. and he might be looking at those sorts of careers for sure.
Oh, you like I just see like that slight like aw in your face, Eric, but then also like that optimism, like, no, they're gonna be fine, you know?
Sure.
All right, let's get on to some of our other questions for the evening. Eric, do you have a favorite fan experience? Like, as in somebody that you met within the board gaming space that you were like, oh my gosh, it's blah, blah, blah.
Oh, like somebody for me to
Yes.
be excited about meeting.
Yes.
Oh boy. I mean, meeting Rich Summer has been a highlight. I guess I'd call Rich almost a friend at this point. We haven't hung out much, but we're certainly friendly. Rich is the actor from Mad Men who was very public in the board game space for a while. He had a chat show, like one of the few call-in shows called Cardboard, and he's been a fun guy to hang out with. And I found out that Jorge Garcia from Lost was a fan of the Dice Tower podcast, knew who we were, which was just like really trippy to me that Hugo from Lost knew who we were. I've had some strange like autograph requests or picture requests or recognition happenings. I was at Disney World once in the Magic Kingdom, and I went to the restroom and I'm washing my hands, and somebody sees my shirt, which was a Dice Tower Cruise t-shirt, and said, "Oh, the Dice Tower Cruise, I've heard of that. I should go on that. I've always wanted to." I said, "It's great. You should do it." And they said, "Wait a minute. Are you Eric Summerer? Can I get your picture?" And I said, "Well, yes, but can we leave the bathroom first?" So we did, and I emerged from the restroom, and my wife is like, "Well, can we go to, Haunted Mansion now?" And I said, "Hang on, I got to take a picture over here by this tree."
Oh,
with
my
this
goodness.
guy I met in the bathroom. So, yes, fun times.
That just
Not weird context at all.
I know.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Can we actually get a picture that's not have tile in the background?
Yes. Yes.
That just reminds me of the times when I've actually like met you in person, Eric, and it's been so funny because I recognize you also for your Dice Tower shirts that you wear. But the few times that we have met in person, it's been in the pandemic times, and we've stayed on the pandemic, so it's always been just with your mask on. But you're so wonderfully expressive in your face. So like when I was like, "Hi, Eric, nice to meet you," and your eyes just like go up like, "Hi," and I'm like, "I'm a friend of Crystal. She told me you're great, so I have to meet you." And then you're like, "Oh, okay." So it's like I always had to like preface it like, "Crystal's one of my good friends, and she said every time you meet, like if I ever got to meet you in person, I should just go ahead and say hi." So here I am going ahead and saying hi. So I can kind of feel that like in the bathroom moment, like, okay.
No, I mean, I appreciate it. It's really great to get stopped and get to have like a conversation with people who I don't normally get to do a two-way conversation with.
Yeah.
When you're doing a podcast or a stream, you get the chat feedback on stream. But doing an audio podcast, you get the delayed reaction. You put something out there and then you wait for the response and find out about it, days or weeks or months later. How people respond to that thing that you produced. So to actually get to have a conversation is kind of cool, and to put a face to the nameless, the names, the screen names that pop up from here to there.
Yeah. Yeah, and but it was really nice when we did have our chat, because I think when the last I did talk with you was at PAX, and you were like carrying like 2 big bags of games, and I was like, again, you're like, "I have all this stuff in my hands, but I'm gonna say hi." And then I was like, "Did you watch Weird?" And then I think you were like, "Oh yeah, okay." And then like we had just a lovely conversation for like a good like 5-7 minutes, and then I was like, "You have a lot of things. You probably need to go drop those off." And so
You gave me a chance to put all that stuff down. It was really good to not have to carry it for a few minutes.
Did you have Foundations of Rome? Was that in one of your bags?
No, I am not lucky enough to have Foundations of Rome in my collection.
Giant box though, Eric. I don't remember.
What was I carrying around? What did I even buy?
Something
I don't remember coming. It was at PAX, and I don't remember buying much. But maybe I did.
It might have
Maybe
just
I
been like
blocked it
review
out
copies.
completely.
Did you get like review copies of stuff?
There were a couple. You're right. There were a few reviews. I picked up some Pandasaurus stuff. I got the wolves, and I also had Starship Captains. It might have been Starship Captains and Deal with the Devil, which are both very heavy games.
Okay.
Like physically very heavy. So that if it was that day.
Yeah,
and I think
don't know.
was.
I just remember you had your hands full, and then as soon as I was like, "Hi," you were like, ah. Then you're like, "Oh wait, I can put these down," because it's not like a "Hi, I'm gonna go." It's like, "Hi, I can actually chat for a second."
Exactly.
All right, Abby, what you got?
What is your favorite game night snack and beverage?
Ooh. Beverage, I'll go with just about any diet soda these days. The Diet Mountain Dew or Mountain Dew Zero is a favorite for game night. That just seems to fit well with game night. And snack. I tend to go with mixed nuts these days. It's probably better for me than the than like Bugles or Goldfish. But I have, because again, having kids in the house, I have Goldfish in huge tubs, and so that's readily available. So that's sort of the backup if I don't have a mixed nut mix handy.
Nice, Joe.
All right. Oh, excuse me. All right. Time for my favorite question of the interview. Here we go. Do you still consider yourself a player first, a content creator second, or has the creative process overtaken the hobby aspect of gaming for you?
It's a good question. I think I still think of myself as a player because it's still a part-time job for me. It hasn't completely subsumed everything that I'm working on, which maybe is holding me back as a content creator in the sphere. But I certainly am much more excited to play things and then talk about them. And I sometimes forget that I need to maybe play these specific games in order to get ready to talk about them. And especially if they're review copies, I certainly work through review copies a lot slower than my colleagues at the Dice Tower, just because it's just me and I'm not doing the game nights as often. And it's not the day job to churn through these things. So, yeah, I sometimes have to remind myself that this maybe has been sitting on the shelf for a little while and I need to get it to the table so I can produce something about it. So yeah, definitely player first, and then I have to remember to produce the content.
Okay. Fantastic answer. Love it.
All right, Eric, do you have a favorite game designer?
I mean, there's a lot that I enjoy, but I think I really like the aesthetic of Friedemann Friese. Friedemann had his like big hit in Power Grid, and I think he's just been messing around ever since and trying stuff that he wants to do. And sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't, and he doesn't seem to care. And is just going to keep doing his stuff. There are some really great other games other than Power Grid that he has produced. I really like Fearsome Floors. I liked his Fast Forward series that were in the small box that sort of teach you as you play them. I thought that was a really fantastic concept. The Fabled Fruit game is really fun. He's had some really cool stuff, but he's also had some stinkers that just don't work. And I like that he's that sort of person to just try stuff and see what happens. And I usually end up liking his illustrations and sense of humor as well. So I have to go with Friese.
Very nice. Very nice. Abby?
What is your favorite game mechanism?
I think, even though my favorite game is a pick up and deliver game, I think I have to pull back from that specific mechanism and go with engine building in general. Something that you can churn and make your system better and go for efficiency and just sort of get better and better at what it is that you're doing. And that works with pick up and deliver because you're trying to make your routes better and more efficient, or deck building because you're trying to make your deck more efficient and take the stuff out that isn't working and bring the stuff in that helps you do things faster. And then the stuff that's like a tableau where you're increasing your ability to move around the board, and then you can deliver farther, or you can collect more tokens, and sort of building up one of those tableaus like in Scythe or Hansa Teutonica, stuff like that. Those are the games I really enjoy, where I can make my system stronger and then do stuff with it.
Ooh, love hearing Hansa Teutonica mentioned. That's one that does not get thrown around very often.
Not at all. Joe, what you got?
Okay, do you think the terms board game and tabletop are separate, or are they becoming interchangeable?
I think they're not different. I think tabletop encompasses board games, but it also includes role playing and like bridge. I sort of see it as the difference between video gaming and tabletop gaming. It used to be what we call analog gaming. But when somebody says tabletop to me, that's a whole sphere of things, whereas board gaming is maybe more limited than that. So it's a Venn diagram. Tabletop,
Okay.
board gaming.
I like that. Visualization. Yeah, I could see that. For sure. All right, Eric. Is there someone that you've looked up to as a mentor that has added to your professional journey within voice acting?
Yeah. I've had some teachers through the years, and there's a gentleman named Pat Fraley who has done like voiceover classes for a while. He's one that I really sort of connected with. He was the voice of Krang in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay. That's
He's done a
fantastic.
lot. I think he's done
Wow.
Buzz Lightyear when Tim Allen didn't want to do it for some animated stuff. He's been in animation for a long time. And so I got to take some classes with him, and he really sort of kicked in that I could maybe do this as a solid career.
Yeah.
And he also I did an audiobook class with him, and about 3 months later is when I got my first audiobook gig. So he's always sort of connected in my mind with the beginning of my career. So he feels the closest to a mentor to me.
Nice. Very
That's
nice.
that's a heck of a mentor.
Yeah, for real. For real.
So for your board games, horizontal, vertical, or if it fits, it sits.
As I run out of room, although I moved about 2 years ago, partially because we were running out of room, not just for the board games, but for just about everything. The family was just outgrowing the house, and so we moved during the pandemic, which was super fun. I highly recommend that. But we did find our current place, which included space for an actual game room. And now the rule is that all the games need to be in the game room, and anything that it doesn't fit in the game room has to leave. So I find that to be a good rule. Almost all of the games in the game room are vertical. I just like that aesthetically to have them all in a row. My shelves, I got the Besta system, which allows you to change the height of the shelves. And so I try and pack them as well as I can. I'll get like all the boxes that are the same height, and I make a 9-inch shelf and slide in all those 9-inch games. And then there's a 12-inch shelf, and all the Ticket to Rides go in that way. So I've got them packed in pretty well. But occasionally there's a game that just doesn't work that way. It's either too large, like Pathfinder adventure card game. You cannot put that on its side. You will mess up everything. It's got all those dividers and stuff. It just wouldn't work. So a lot of deck builders that I've got a lot of cards for, those have to stay flat. I can't put those on their sides. But I do occasionally, especially for really thin games, no matter how well you plan, there's always going to be that little gap that doesn't that needs something to go in it. So I'm often looking for those really tiny, thin games to go into those gaps or on top of a few games to try and fit some of those small games in there.
So to follow up with that, and I'll let Joe get into his question after this, but to follow up to that, Eric, what do you do with games that are in tins and in cylinders?
Cry.
I'm looking at like Burgle Bros, right? I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah,
And
there comes a
junk
point.
art, like,
Yeah. So there are a few games that that sit on the top of the shelf.
okay.
That are sort of in display position, not necessarily because they're featured, but because they just don't fit any other way. Abandon All Artichokes is one. It's a game I love, but the tin, that adorable artichoke tin is, I don't even know what shape that is. It's some sort of oblong
It's an artichoke.
It's
spade.
an
It's an,
artichoke.
it's an artichoke shaped, and I don't have any other artichoke shaped boxes to put it next to.
Yeah.
There are a few tins that fit on the shelf, like the Forbidden Desert, Forbidden Islands do fit on the shelf. They're square enough that they fit. But the really strange one, the Carcassonne game, the Carcassonne the City, the one that comes in the wooden box, that sits on a display up top. The really odd ones, they just have to find a spot. And at some point, they might have to go because they don't fit correctly on the shelf.
Oh, not Junk Art, Junk Orbit. I was like, wait, that doesn't sound right. Junk Orbit, the one from Renegade.
Yes, and that one currently does have a place on the shelf, I think because I found another cylindrical game to go on top of it.
Okay.
So it's more of a column
Okay.
in the shelf somewhere. But yes, Junk Orbit is one of those games that is problematic in the way it fits on the shelf.
Yeah. I love Board Game Bree says, it's so clever. I hate it. Agreed. All right, Joe.
All right, so coming from Board Game Bree, how did you originally get into voice acting? Or in other words, tell us your origin story.
Okay. So I went to Syracuse University at the Newhouse School and studied television, radio, film. The intent was to work somewhere in the television industry. Specifically, I wanted to work for the Muppets. I interned at Henson the summer before my senior year. I worked on a video production called Cinder Elmo at Sesame Workshop. I was like, full track, let me be a Muppet. I did a senior thesis film called Felt Ambition, which is about a vaudevillian puppet trying to break back into show business. And so really this was the goal. And I sent in an audition tape to Henson and heard nothing. And just that never happened. So eventually I had to find a job that was not at the Muppets. And I ended up at a radio station in Connecticut, at WCCC in Hartford, which is the station where Howard Stern got his start. And
I was like, I know those call letters.
That's it. CCC it's sadly off the air now, but it was like a bastion of rock music. And it was one of the few live radio stations that was still live with a full schedule of DJs, except for running Howard in the morning. It was all live in the studio. And I worked as an intern there for a few months. And then they had a classical music station in the basement of WCCC that was taking on internet radio. And this was 2000, 2001. And it was Beethoven.com, the world's classical music station. And I was drawn down there because I liked that music and was more familiar with that music than with the rock stuff upstairs. They were presenting it as classical music without the attitude. That was the tagline of the station. And the idea was that they were treating the classical station as if it was a top 40 station. We played the hits. we took requests, we played the most popular stuff. And did silly stuff. We had sort of a sense of humor. We chatted with the audience. We had an email chat board and all sorts of stuff, interacting and trying to do classical music not the NPR way, but in a new way to try and gain some new audience. And we were quite popular, but we got smacked down by the RIAA. As internet radio was taking off, the recording industry said, "Wait a minute. We need to get paid for all this, otherwise people are going to copy our music." And so they really smacked down on us and made us pay royalties for everything. This is all a tangent to say I was on the radio. And I started doing some, if you're working at a radio station, you do voice work. It's just part of the job. When they're producing local commercials for the local Harley-Davidson dealer, they grab the local DJs and you read these jobs. So I was doing commercials for Harley-Davidson Buell and just getting grabbed as the, downstairs classical guy to record commercials for the rock station, which led to doing some industrial recordings. I got a lead that, Nestle needs to record these corporate... Anytime you have to take one of those online classes, someone has to narrate that stuff. I was doing sexual harassment training for CVS, and I was doing Six Sigma training for corporate stuff. It's really in the weeds in the corporate world, but that's what I was doing for a while and making some money at it and deciding, well, I kind of like doing this and some of the fun video game stuff and exploring that world, and realizing that in order to do that, I needed to not have the 9 to 5, not 9 to 5, but it was actually more like 5:30 to 12:30, morning radio gig. And I needed to be available to do auditions and to actually produce the work. And so I left. In 2004, I left the station and decided to go full-time and started sending out auditions like crazy, and got a few video game gigs, got some narration stuff, started building my studio, more corporate stuff, and eventually, like I said, in 2005, I got my first audiobook and started booking those maybe 1 or 2 a month, and eventually that became full-time. And so now almost everything I do is at home doing audiobooks and then the board game stuff at night.
Do you, Eric, ever have somebody ask to record a voicemail message? Like, you can win Eric recording your voicemail message for you.
Like, wait, don't tell me.
Yes.
Yes. So it was until recently a goal, not a goal, but a backing level at the Dice Tower Kickstarter. The fundraiser every year had an option where you could pay to have me do your voicemail. And a lot of people wanted stuff that was One Night Ultimate Werewolf related or some other silly board game puns that they wanted me to read. So I've done, it's got to be somewhere around 100 voicemails of people have me as their guy.
That's
and
awesome.
A lot of people saying, could you just say, "Everyone, close your eyes, unless you're driving, and then don't." Something along those lines. So there's a lot of
good.
one-night style voicemails out there.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. Because I was chatting with Crystal Dax, and we were chatting about different things for the Tabletop Live network, and possibly using for like Twitch channel stuff and upcoming podcasts. And it'd be like, wouldn't that be awesome just to have like Eric just be like, "Welcome to the Tabletop Live network," da 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 da, like how they do the channel trailers for everyone. And I'm like, that would be so cool to just have Eric just do it. And Crystal's like, you know what? I'm sure if we asked him really, really nicely, he would probably just do it.
He probably would. Yeah. I mean,
Of course, he would compensate you, so it's not like, oh, because we're in and we're friends that Eric will just do it for free. That's not what we're saying at all, because we value your time and your talent, Eric. We're not going to exploit
I've
you.
certainly had random emails come in with, people just want me to record stuff. I've lost track of how many engagements I have facilitated over the years.
Oh my gosh, really?
Wow.
Well, so one, on the Dice Tower cruise, I just did one. where we were doing a game show, and one of the Dice Tower panelists, Roy Cannaday, proposed to his girlfriend. And I was reading, it was a quiz, like who gave this particular answer, and I'm going through the cards and reading them out to the audience, and they had stacked the deck so that the last one said, "Will you marry me?" And as soon as I read that, they turned the lights off and shot spotlights on the two of them. So I was the one that actually proposed to Roy's girlfriend.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was really cool. But I've done one at other conventions. I've recorded one night style proposals. Some people have asked me to record little clips for them, and I charge a nominal fee just because it's such a novel idea.
Yeah.
And make it happen. And I seriously, over the years, have lost how many times I've done that.
You're just like, oh, whatever, fine. Oh, that's too great. Everybody's just loving that. Yes, Roy.
That's a great story.
It is a great, great story. Panda says she's going to clip your one night ultimate werewolf little thing. Close your eyes unless you're driving. Then don't. And
it's good advice.
Yeah. Good morning, Dutch Yoda. What time is it for you over there in the... Oh, good gravy. What's in the Netherlands? Let's see. Math. It's like 5 a.m. for you, Dutch. What are you doing?
It's like a 6-hour difference, I think.
Oh, there it is.
What are you
5
doing,
a.m.
Dutch? Ugh. Dutch Yoda is one that never sleeps. He is a true Jedi. He just needs to be recharged in nominal amounts. It's ridiculous. All right. So here we're getting down to some nitty gritty here, Eric. What is something that you would wish would improve or change within the board gaming hobby?
Oh boy, improve or change. That is tricky. Because I think in general things are moving in good directions. It's never moving as quickly as you'd like. I feel like, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything that I can articulate as being like, this absolutely needs to be completely different than it is.
Yeah. That's fair.
It's encouraging to see more diverse voices in the hobby. I guess I wish it were easier to hear all of them, or to give them the stage that they haven't necessarily had in years past. But you look at like PAX is such a wonderful cornucopia of people all there to play games and to see various personalities and gaming tastes and all of that. It's really such a cool mixing pot of this hobby. And I think it's so encouraging that that the hobby has been growing. There are always growing pains that come with that. And I wish those didn't exist. But any change is tricky sometimes. But I just think it's so encouraging that there's so many different perspectives and different levels of immersion into the hobby still being called gamers. And I think that's cool. Anything from the traditional grognards, the die-hard wargaming, super heavy Eurogame players, to I play some mobile games and a couple of implementations of some abstracts, and that's all I need. I'm perfectly happy playing that. And that's all people that can enjoy this hobby. And as long as we all realize that and take a step back and go, yeah, we're all in this hobby, then I think we'll be headed in the right direction.
Well said, sir. Abby.
What is the most incredible bargain you've ever found on a board game?
Ooh. I think I paid $10 for Star Wars Epic Duels back when it was at KB Toys, and they were liquidating it.
Wow!
And I think I also got the same place, KB Toys liquidation of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer board game, the old Hasbro one, from 2000. I think I got that for maybe $10 or $15 as well. But yeah, Epic Duels I think I got for very little money when it was available at KB. And I've since let it go because I didn't think it really fit. And now it's, of course, replaced by Unmatched. But at the time, it was very cool to have that as sort of a catch in the collection.
KB Toys, what a throwback.
I know. Like I'm feeling old now. KB. Jeez.
Yep.
Ah. Oh, man. All right, Joe.
That's good. All right, Eric, if you could redesign one game for the better or for the worse, what would it be?
If I could re-theme or completely restructure.
Yes. Like you have like carte blanche. What would you do? And which game would it be?
Oh boy. See, I'm afraid to mess with my favorites. Like I would love to I think tackling Merchant of Venus, my favorite game, and actually attempting to just make it more streamlined of a game than it is already now, would be fascinating. And that didn't happen with the Fantasy Flight version. But I'm afraid to mess with that balance. You know, I wouldn't want to touch that a masterpiece like that. I'm trying to think of something that I would re-theme to Stargate because that needs to happen. Maybe
Stargate would be an interesting IP. I would think.
Like Mansions of Madness, or hey, take the Destiny system that we were just talking about and make that into a Stargate game, where you show up on the gate and you're on one map tile and then you explore out, and you maybe have different personalities. Maybe one of you is inhabited by a Goa'uld, and secretly trying to work against everybody else. That would be cool.
Well,
yeah,
Board Game Breeze in chat, and I think you piqued her interest. So Lucky Duck is listening.
Let's do Stargate Destinies. That's what I'm looking for. Where's my Lucky Duck rep in the chat?
Yes,
that's
breathe
get
in.
on that. Get working on that.
That's awesome. All right, Eric, do you have a favorite or most memorable board game memory?
I mean, in all the years of going to conventions, there's just so many fun things that have happened. I don't often get to play games with designers. The only one I can think of was I got to play Ada Ants, this tiny little abstract ant game, and was playing it online, I think turn-based, and realized I was playing with the designer halfway through the game. Went, wait a minute, you're the guy, you made this game. I think so. Going back to one night, I got to do the narration live one year. They were doing it was a one-night Ultimate Werewolf World Championship, and Bezier was running it as an event at Gen Con. And they brought me in for the first round of the finals and had me do the narration. They gave me a microphone, and I just sort of read what the screen said. And one, it was really cool to get to do that as sort of a presentation. Two, it was a lot more difficult than one might think because the clips on the app are all squeezed together so they don't take much time. The app doesn't breathe, whereas I had to. And so trying to maintain the speed of that and still make it a viable game experience for the people who were there in the room was interesting. But it was very cool to sort of see fans of the game and get to be part of that in that particular sphere. So that was pretty cool.
That is awesome. Very, very cool. Dutch Yoda says he remembers the audience singing happy birthday in their own languages during the Dice Tower show at Spiel last year.
Yes, that was for my birthday. The last few years I was able to go to Spiel, it happened to go right over my birthday. And one of the Dice Tower shows that we filled an auditorium and we played game shows with the audience. And it was on my birthday. So they sang, I don't know whose idea this was. I think it might have been Dave Luza. suggested that we all sing Happy Birthday, except everyone should sing it in their own native language. So it was a delicious cacophony of the Happy Birthday song in an incomprehensible number of syllables. But it was awesome. And I was touched tremendously to have that entire group singing Happy Birthday. It was really, really cool.
Aw, that's
That
beautiful.
sounds like a Dave Lewis idea.
That does sound like a Dave idea.
Yeah, I think it was Dave.
All right, Abby.
What are your top 5 games for a weekend getaway?
Oh boy. Well, it sort of depends on who I'm getting away with. Let's say it's the family. I would want to pick something that the whole family can get around, and that they're going to be willing to play multiple rounds with. So often, some of my top games don't do that. Probably Stop Thief would make the list. Quacks of Quedlinburg would make the list. One of the Pandemics would make the list. Possibly the Legacy season. We're working on 0 right now, so that would probably be, we try and work through a few months there. Then something small card gamey, I would go with Scout is probably our favorite right now for a small trick-taking card game. And then that leaves me one more. Maybe that gets to be my pick that I would hope to get to the table. Let's say something that I really want to play with everybody. We've already done... Or maybe I just wouldn't be able to decide and I'd pick up Potion Explosion.
Yeah.
So there we go. Potion Explosion, Quacks, Pandemic, Scout, and whatever the first one that I said was. Stop Thief. Yeah, there you go.
Nice. Good selection. Joe, what do you got?
Okay. In your opinion, do you think crowdfunding has changed board gaming for better or worse?
There are certainly, I mean, the better for worse, just as a solid answer, is hard. I don't think it's for worse. It has allowed projects that wouldn't necessarily have seen the light of day to see the light of day. And I think that's a good thing. It is a marketing tool that has allowed people who wouldn't necessarily have discovered some of these projects to discover them. As a marketing tool, it works very well. Of course, there are aspects of that come into play that are not the best. The fear of missing out, the whole consumerism, the I must have an all-in pledge feel can be a bad thing. But ultimately, I still think it's producing more stuff in the hobby and more varied things in the hobby. And there are still some smaller projects that are niche games that probably wouldn't see the light of day. I backed it was a solo pulp sci-fi themed card game called Pulp Invasion, maybe a year or two ago, that I don't think would have existed if it weren't for Kickstarter. And it ended up being maybe a $20, $25 game, and it's just a tiny little box, but such a unique production and art design and stuff like that. Stuff like that, I think, needs Kickstarter to be produced. And so, yeah, I think ultimately, if you can ignore the static of the latest Come On campaign, you can find those little gems in there as well.
All right, awesome. And before Jess gets to her next question, I'm going to dim the lights a little bit, and I'm going to go get our friend, and I will be right back.
Yay!
Yeah.
Is this when we bring Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Is this the dramatic lighting thing?
Exactly.
Eric, do you want to be a millionaire? Well, too bad.
I do.
We can't help you.
Ah, shucks. I was told there would be prizes.
I was told there would be prizes. Oh gosh, I just had it. I just had my next question on there. Oh, if you could work with any publishing company, Eric, doing some, board gaming content or whatever for them, who would it be?
Ooh. So I would love to work with one of the narrative app games. I I would love to work with Plaid Hat again in one of Jerry Hawthorne's designs. I got to do, as I said, I got to do the Dead of Winter app, but I would love to get to play a character in one of Jerry's narrative adventure games. His Stuffed Fables or the Familiar Tales, something like that. That has done some more character work lately. That would be a lot of fun to get to be a sort of an animated character or a talking mouse or vole, maybe a weevil of some sort, and get to play in that zone. I would really enjoy doing that. But some of the other, big heavy production games that have a narrative element or an app element, I'd love to get a chance to work in those spheres. I sometimes wonder if people got sick of me since I'm so ubiquitous in the One Night app. And people are like, I'd love to use Eric, but everybody recognizes him. So I don't necessarily want to put him as our heroic talking mouse. But I'd love to do that.
Understood. Have you played any of the Echoes audio mysteries?
I've played one of them. Let's see. What it was is it the Cocktail? It's the one that's set in the bar.
Okay.
Really enjoyed it. I picked up the technology one.
The microchip?
The microchip, and I haven't had a chance to play it yet. It's still in shrink. But I really enjoyed that just because of it's all about sound and listening for auditory clues.
Right.
And piecing
That's what
those.
I thought you would say, to be like, ooh.
Yeah.
Get on some Cosmos. Thames and Cosmos.
It's like a jigsaw puzzle, but made of sound.
Yes.
And that is really appealing to me. You have to play that in a quiet room, though. But I really enjoyed that, and I'm looking forward to getting a chance to hit the microchip soon.
Yeah, and Bree says, I don't think anyone is tired of your voice yet.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I mean, you have varying levels of voice acting, so it's not just like one thing of just this is how Eric sounds all the time.
Sure.
So, and with that, we are going to transition to our new scene here. Give me a moment, and I would like to introduce you all to the Phantom Meeple.
Good evening, everybody. I love that we have a scene now. I appreciate that.
We're playing your little song here. Hopefully it's coming through okay, everyone. Good evening, Phantom. This theme song was made by the wonderful Omari Akil. Released it on Akilaverse. The sound is too low. Panda.
Oh no.
Oh no. Well, you know what? I'm just gonna have to turn this thing up then. Or Panda has her volume too low. Yeah, Omari is wonderful. Yeah. Now we can hear it. It's just a little intro. I mean, Joe's gonna use it forever and ever. Amen. And so he'll just have it here. So let's see. Thank you to Omari for playing this lovely tune.
Yes, I definitely need to thank him. I had the chance to listen to it. I'm glad I have a theme song now, and it totally fits. We've come full circle.
We have come full circle, and now you have your own screen here, Phantom.
Well, I love it. So, without further ado, good evening, everybody. Good evening to you, Eric.
Good evening.
So, we have reached the part of the interview. As James Lipton, Dean Emeritus of Pace University, has done before me, it is time for the Sir Phantom Lipton questionnaire. There are no right or wrong answers. Answer as you will, short or as long as you like. Are you ready, sir?
I hope so.
All right, here we go. What is your favorite board game?
It's called Merchant of Venus from 1987-88. It's a pick up and deliver game in space, and it is delicious.
Okay. What is your least favorite board game?
It is a tie between a game called Taj Mahal, which frustrates me to no end, and Citadels, which frustrates me to no end. So they're both infinite frustration and therefore a tie.
Okay. What board game makes you feel the most happy?
Ooh. most happy. I mean, it's hard for me to just throw out. I'm gonna have to give some other answer than Merchant of Venus, but I did play it twice in the last week, which does make me happy. But happy, I have to think of what's one that I have to go with one that my whole family enjoys. How about a good, solid game of Pandemic that's a win? Because you got to win. That makes me... When we pulled out a victory when things were looking really bad. Yeah, we'll go with that.
All right, fantastic answer. What board game makes you feel the most sad?
I could also say when Pandemic doesn't go well. But no, worse than that. So there's a trend of games that are like environmental co-op games. Endangered and The Spill are two that come to mind. And when you lose, you feel like you've let the little cardboard animals down. And so in addition to just feeling sad about losing, I have like a pile of oil-covered sea animals in The Spill. So I'm going to say The Spill when you lose.
Okay. What board game components do you love?
It's got to be something dramatic. The Wallenstein Cube Tower, I don't really love that, though. That's distinctive, but I don't love it. Dark Tower, however, the Dark Tower is pretty sweet. Let's go with the Dark Tower.
All right, I'm gonna supplement that. Original or restoration remake?
That's the restoration remake. It's got to glow and make thrumming sounds. It thrums. It goes choo 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 choo. That's pretty cool.
All right. What board game components do you dislike?
It's hard to be specific on that one because I really dislike flimsy cardboard. Stuff that's going to shred as you use it. Something that just isn't made to have like a slider run along it. Or when you try and assemble, wet cardboard that wasn't dried properly in the factory so that when you punch it, it just disintegrates. The first edition of Homesteaders from Tasty Minstrel did that. You're trying to punch out these stars, and the whole thing just sort of melts in your hands. No. You don't want moist board games. There's my answer. Moist board games. Ugh.
That is a completely great answer. Okay. What board game is so bad that its name should become a curse word?
I mean, we've already mentioned it. I don't want to repeat myself, but I will. It's Citadels!
That's probably one of the best answers we've had, I'm not going to lie.
Every time I see Citadels on the shelf, Eric, your little voice just like is ringing in my ears of just disdain.
There was one year that at Gen Con they were promoting the new version of Citadels. They had it as a huge banner on the side of the booth for whatever Asmodee, I think, had it. Their Fantasy Flight, I think, was releasing it in that particular edition. It was a huge, like half of their booth had a giant Citadels. And so I got a great picture of me just screaming at the sky with this giant Citadels banner. I met Bruno Faiduti once, the designer of Citadels, and they made me, like, some folks from the Dice Tower were doing an interview with them, and they made me come over and do the Citadels yell in front of him. I don't think he had any idea who I was or why I was yelling. It was very silly. And then I was like, can I please get out of here? Because he does not know who I am. He's just like, who is this person? Anyway.
Citadels. Okay.
Yeah,
Continue, Sir Phantom.
Best answer I think we've had the entire time. I love it. Okay. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I always wanted to be a Jungle Cruise director. The folks running the Jungle Cruise ride that do the patter. I think
The
that would
skipper,
be
you
fun.
mean?
Yeah, I want to be Skipper Dan. Not ironically, I want to try and do that and get all the puns and the jokes and the ridiculousness. If there was any job in Disney World that I'd want to have, I think it would be that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
What
I think
profession?
I'd enjoy
sorry.
just being a Disney cast member, and finding some. As long as there was some performing aspect to the job, I would enjoy doing that.
All right. What profession would you not like to do?
I don't want to be in charge of scheduling things. I don't want to be a production intern again. I guess I've done that, and the just being the lowest member on the totem pole and having to just run and get everything and always feeling like you're doing it wrong. That was where I was. So I don't want to do that anymore.
All right. And finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
You have all the time in the world to hang out with the people that you want to hang out with.
And there we have it, my friends, the Sir Phantom Lipton questionnaire.
Whoo!
Yay, you passed. Eric, you
I
passed.
passed.
Yay.
Oh, good.
All right, let's go back over here to the cheerful screen. Sir Phantom has gone away. What
I
do you
should
think,
have
Joe?
known
I
that
put
question
the
was
little
coming.
I put the little thing in the background. What do you think, Joe?
I know. I loved it. It was great. I was watching the entire time. You will never find Sir Phantom Lipton and I in the same room because we're two totally different people.
Totally different.
Of course not. All right. So, Eric, deep down in your heart of hearts, are you more partial to simplicity or complexity?
I think simplicity. I really appreciate a design that is super easy to explain, but the design space or the decision space is wide. I tend to overload quickly when given a lot of options on my first turn. And so I sort of like... And also I overload when I have to do too long an explanation and I see people's eyes glazing over. So I really appreciate something that can be taught quickly and then let people explore the intricacies of that simplistic design. But something that's going to have me teaching for an hour, that's not really... I'll play those games, I'll enjoy those games, but I don't like to teach those games.
Understood. All right, Abby?
What is your Grail game?
Ooh. I don't know if I'm actively searching for anything right now. There's a lot of things that, show up briefly in the sphere, and I would love to track down copies of newer stuff, but Grail game is usually an older title that you haven't been able to find. I don't know if I actually have one. I'm trying to think of like an edition or a deluxe edition of something that I like that I haven't been able to track down, or that was a limited print run or something like that, but nothing's coming to mind. I have like 4 copies of Merchant of Venus. Maybe the deluxe Power Grid, but I already have that. I don't really need to have it deluxeified. I actually don't think I have a Grail game, one that I am seeking out or is at the top of my wish list because it's so hard to find. There are certainly games that I'd love to have and get to play, but they're not ones that I couldn't find if I tried. Grail game sort of means something that you could have or you want to have, but you can't because something is standing in your way. Scarcity or shipping. For a while, I think you might have said Comic Hunters, but that's much more of a recent title. But that is only available in Brazil right now. But my wife had a knitting friend that was in Brazil and managed to snag one. So that's the closest to a Grail game I've had. Something that I really wanted but couldn't get for a while. I'm sure there's a Japanese design that I'm not thinking of that I probably can't get. Oh, how about here? Okay. New answer. The Eevee version of Point Salad. That I would consider, because that one is tricky to get. You have one, don't you, Joe? You've got it just sitting there to taunt me.
Yeah,
I knew it. I knew it.
Shout out to Panda Angel for that.
Yeah, shout out to Amanda Panda, because this was my Chris's present, and bless her for getting this for me. Like,
that is amazing.
I was to no end of happiness. Like, I am thrilled that I'm actually holding this in my hands.
It is. So that's the closest, and it's partially that it's not something you can just readily grab. You have to work to get that particular version of the game. I probably could, but it would require some doing, and I just haven't jumped through those hoops. But it looks like a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, might know someone who could hook you up. Just saying.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It is possible.
we could talk to people. Our people will talk to your people.
You got connections.
I mean, is this not community connections? Come on now.
It is.
It's not just a clever title.
It's not. It's full circle, Eric. It's full circle. All right, Abby.
That was my question.
Oh, Joe.
Okay, I know you mentioned before that you said if your game room gets too full, something has to go. But is there a number that you personally would consider too many board games?
I mean, if I was just going with a number, I think if you cross, I haven't done an inventory in a while, so I'm probably over this line. I would say 1,000 is way too many. That's just, I could probably back off that 1,000 though. I think probably 500 is too many, because at that point you're just not going to play those games. And even in the phase of, I want to have these available so that when we do want to play them, they're available. You can have a category of games covered and still get rid of some of those games. And I totally understand some people really like having a collection that is as wide and varied as possible. And I'm probably at that 500 point at the moment. And I would say I probably do have too many and need to cull. So I can make room for more. That's the whole point, right? 1,000 for sure, too many, but I think 500 is probably pushing it.
Okay.
All right, Eric, let's see. What would be one game you can recommend to someone who has never played a hobby game before?
I like to use the term mother-in-law games, because my particular mother-in-law is not one who delves into much. We gifted them a few games at one point, and most of them came back to us in the last couple of years.
Oh no!
Some still wrapped, by the way. But Transamerica is one of my favorites for pulling out and having it be graspable and passing the mother-in-law rule. It's often considered by hobbyists to be a little too light, and people will be like, "Oh, Ticket to Ride is the gateway game, the introductory game." But I actually find Ticket to Ride can be a little too complex for people who don't play games a lot. But Transamerica is very simple route building. Just connect your 5 cities. That's all you need to do. You're putting down 2 sticks on a turn. That's it. And even then, when you finish a round, you go back and you basically do the same thing again. And so if you didn't get it the first time, you're going to get it in the next round. And I just find it to be very clear. And so that one, even in our early days of playing games, that one would come out a lot. And I even brought it out recently in the last few months with somebody who didn't play a lot of games. Here, let's try this one. And he liked it. So Transamerica. There we go.
Nice. I have not played Transamerica, so now I'm like, I might have to try that one.
There you go.
All right, Joe or Abby, do y'all have any final questions before we wrap it up for the evening?
I think I'm good.
I am also good.
Okay, so Eric, I want to say thank you for joining us this evening. Where can folks find you on the socials, and what do you have coming up in the board gaming space that people can check out?
All right. Well, the easiest way to get the public stuff is my Twitter profile, and that's at Eric Summerer. You'll find not only my board game related publishing or postings, but also my new audiobook releases. If you are interested in the audiobook stuff, head to audible.com and search for Eric Michael Summerer. I did the middle name because I thought I could carry people over from my radio gigs, where I was Eric Michaels on Beethoven.com. I don't think anyone carried over, but now I'm stuck with using the middle name. So Eric Michael Summerer on Audible. You'll find, like I said, 400 titles there. You can search by genre. I would highly recommend unchecking romance, especially if you've listened to me in any other capacity. But
Are you
there's a
saying
following.
you're not a good romance voiceover person?
I'm saying I think I might be a good romance voiceover person, and that's not something you want. Anyway.
I mean, you did help people get engaged, so...
You need to know what you're getting into. That's all I'm saying. So you can filter by genre, and it's all right there on Audible. As far as upcoming stuff, we've got a new episode of At the Table coming up this week. We'll be talking with Tim Fowers, and I'm excited to do that, talk about his second editions. He's very big on making second editions and revised editions of his games, so we're going to talk about that. And more video reviews on the Dice Tower channel, and I'll be at Dice Tower West in Las Vegas in just like a month or so. I just got back from the cruise and headed to Vegas very, very soon. That's me.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you, Eric. This has been a pleasure, and I know everyone in the chat has enjoyed the conversation. Bree says, yay, I will be at Dice Tower West too.
Huzzah!
Maybe the
Come
two
say
of
hi.
you can play Citadels, and she can change your mind.
Maybe.
We'll hear the screams from Miles.
Well, here's the all of us will just wake up one day and we'll just hear, live from Las Vegas. It's Eric Disdain. All right, Joe, Abby, what do y'all got going on this week?
Let's see, what do we got going on this week? Tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. Pacific, we're going to be learning and playing Delicious from Pencil First Games. Then on Thursday for the Panda and Phantom show, at 1 p.m. on Thursday, we'll be joined by Candace Harris from Board Game Geek. Celebrating Lunar New Year, we'll be playing Ping Yao, First Chinese Banks. Fantastic worker placement game if you haven't played it. Friday, we're going to be doing some super skill pinball. We're going to be doing the Pin Pals table, because that's the one Abby requested, because she loves wrestling. And what better than to cross wrestling, board games, and super skill pinball than that? So that'll be 4:30 p.m. Pacific on Friday. And then Saturday at 7 p.m. Pacific for TLN, we will be playing the two-player version of In the Stars by the wonderful Tate Wu.
Beautiful. And there you go, friends. The links to both Joe and Abby's Twitch is there in the chat. But all the things that Joe was saying is going to be on his channel, which is the Phantom Meeple Twitch channel there. For me, friends, you can catch me here, not here, backtrack, because I am on another channel now. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., I will be over at the Tabletop Live Network Twitch, streaming some Mega Karuba. Y'all are familiar with that fun, delightful Haba game. The wonderful T, who used to work for Haba, created during the pandemic times a way to stream Mega Karuba so you can have everybody play along with you live on stream. So that's going to happen tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on the Tabletop Live Network Twitch channel. And then for Wednesday, I'm going to be playing a solo version of Under Fallen Skies. I think I'm finally going to dig into the campaign. I've heard nothing but wonderful things about it, and I have yet to open up those envelopes. So I think Wednesday is going to be the day I will open up those envelopes. And then Friday, friends, I will be finishing off the Steam game of Theophilo, or Theophilus, if you will, a one-person adventure game where you saw me play so wonderfully last Friday that I think I will complete the gaming aspect of it. I'm about 50% of the way done, so I think I can wrap it up on Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Wednesday stream will be 11 a.m. Pacific time. And then for the Tabletop Live Network that's going to be happening this Saturday and Sunday, I will be closing out the streams on Sunday evening at 8:30 Pacific. I will be playing one of the Unlock series, the Mythic Adventures, yes. Hanging out with you all in the chat and seeing if you can help me complete that scenario. So if you didn't catch all of that, because I know it was really, really fast and we were talking super, super fast, you can catch it all on our links with the handles there on screen. That is Eric's link for his Twitter there on screen, and then Joe and Abby and myself are also there for our handles. Mine is actually up in the corner. But you know how to find us. You know what's going on here. This is what we do for community connections. But right now, I am going to send you all over on a raid train to iHeart Board Games, because they are playing one oldie but goodie game of Broom Service. So I will send you all over there. But until next time, friends, stay safe, enjoy your board games, be kind to one another, and we'll catch y'all on the next stream. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
So long.